People come and take their stones back from the vote they cast for Hunter. The stones are still wet and they drip a little onto the villagers' clothes, leaving small dark spots. Some of the people roll the rocks in their hands as they wait. This trough, Colin says, pointing to the one nearest him, is for the maximum penalty. The other, the one closer to Alexander's feet, is for the lesser penalty. He doesn't specify the penalties are. Does everyone already know? And I guess the worst sentence Alexander would receive would be exile, because his crime wasn't as great as Hunter's. No one died. But for Alexander, exile would mean death. He has nowhere to go. He can't live out here alone. It's a long journey through the rough terrain back to Cadmus. Perhaps he could find Hunter, but then what? I look up at Alexander. The sun has crept through the trees and the shine gold in his hair. I've never had to wonder what color his eyes are, the way I did with Kai. I've always known the Alexanders are blue, and that he would look at you from the place of kindness and clarity. But now, though the color hasn't changed, I know Alexander has. I'm lonely with you sometimes, he told me in the infirmary earlier. I didn't think I could ever be that way. Are you lonely now, Alexander? I don't even have to ask. There are birds in the trees. These are stirring in the crowd, and the wind and the grasses are coming down the path, and yet all I feel is his silence and his strength. He turns to the crowd, straightening his shoulders and clearing his throat. He could do this, I think. He'll smile that smile, and his voice will ring out over the crowd like the pilot he could be someday. And they'll see how good he is, and they'll won't want to destroy him anymore. They'll want to circle around and gather close and smile back at him. That's how it's always been with Alexander. Girls in the borough loved him. Officials wanted him for their departments. People who became ill wanted him to heal them. I promise, Alexander says. They only did what Ochre asked me to do. He wanted the cures destroyed because he realized he made a mistake. Please, I think, please believe him. He's telling the truth. But I hear how hollow his voice sounds, and when he glances back at me, I see how a smile isn't quite the same. It's not because he's lying, it's because he has nothing left right now. He took care of the still for months without relief. He saw his friend Lee go down. He believed in the pilot, and then he believed in Ochre. And then they asked him to do the impossible things, to find a cure, the pilot said, to destroy the cure, Ochre ordered. I'm no less guilty. Make another cure, I told him. Try again. I want a cure as much as anyone else. Whatever the cost. We all asked, and Alexander gave. In the canyon, I saw Kai get healed. Here in the mountain, I see Alexander broken. A stone cattle into the trough next to Colin's feet. Wait, Colin says, bending down to pick it up. He hasn't had a chance to finish speaking yet. Doesn't matter, someone said. Ochre's dead. They loved Ochre, and now he's gone. They want someone to blame. They want the stone settled. It might not be exile Alexander receives. It might be something worse. I glance over at the guards that brought Alexander here, who let him make the cures. They won't meet my gaze. Suddenly I see the others slide their choice. All of us are having it. Sometimes we will choose wrong. No, I say. I reach into my sleeve and pull out the cures Alexander made. And I show them this, the flower that my mother sent and Ochre saw. They have to understand. We should have done this the first, before the trial even began. Please, I began, listen. Another stone rattles through the trough. At the same time, something enormous passes across the sun. It's a ship. The pilot, someone calls out. But instead of moving down the mountain to the landing meadow, the ship hovers over us, and the blades rotating so that it can stay suspended in the air. Eli flinches, and some of the crowd duck instinctively. They are remembering firings in the outer provinces. Someone else moans far back in the crowd. The ship dips down slightly and it comes back up. The intent is clear, even to me. He wants us to move so that he can land in the village circle. He said he'd never try to land here, Colin says, his face pale. He promised. Is the circle large enough, I ask. I don't know, Colin says. Everyone moves. Alexander and I turn to each other and he grabs my hand. We race away from the circle, our feet flying across the ground and air whipping above us. The pilot is coming. He might not survive the landing, and we might not either. What would drive the pilot to do this? It's only a short walk from the landing meadow to the village. What can't be spared this time? What is happening back in the Providence? The ship dips and tilts in the air, a way is moving in the mountains. The ship's blades churn and the winds whip around us. So we hear nothing but the howl and screams as the pilot comes down, 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 crashing through the trees, ships turning on the side. He's not going to be able to land it, I think, and I turn to look at Xander. We press up against the wall of a building for shelter, and Xander's eyes are closed, as if he can't bear to see what comes next. Xander, I say, but he can't hear me. Again the ship tilts and turns, shudders, closes down closer and closer to us, near to the edge of the circle. There's nowhere else to run. There's not even time to space to go around the building. These thoughts flash fast through my mind. I close my eyes too and press against Xander as if either of us can help to keep the other safe. He puts his arm around me and his body feels warm and sound. A good place to be at the finish. I wait for the scrapping metal to break stone and the cracking wood and the fire and heat and as sudden as a flood.